we'll just go with the default shader. And I can change the current object shader to not use cavity. So back in the paint room, here's where you can paint some brick texture. So I'm just scaling. So I can paint with color and specularity when I'm vertex painting, which is what I'm doing now. There are no UVs. 3D Coat is going to store all the color and specularity on the vertices themselves. And 3D Coat will allow us to bake everything down, again, without the need of creating UV maps or even retopologizing. So I'll just go ahead and disable depth. Do that. And actually, I can scale this because 3D Coat will actually allow me to paint through this so I can actually see what it's going to look like as I'm brushing. Now, maybe I want to use a different texture here. Okay, so this will be the process of creating all your bricks and going through the steps of painting everything. And once you're done, I'm going to unhide all the others. Then go to the File menu, Export Depth Along Y. Once more, this dialog will explain the process. The texture size will stick with 4K, and it automatically has a certain patch size. But before we go any further, I need to mention one very important thing, and that is to inspect your scene scale before you go any further, because you may not get the desired result. For example, if your edit scene scale is off, you may only get a small portion of this tile. So let's go to Geometry, Edit Scene Scale. Yeah, when you see something like this, it's going to be off. So let's change this to 1. I'm going to go ahead and set these others to 0. And hit OK. Now, I'll go ahead and unhide all these. And then we'll go back to Exporting, Depth Along Y, and choose the image file format type. And we're going to save out our normal map, color, and roughness. 3D Coat will also export a displacement map as well if we need that. So I'm going to hit OK. Now you see this little yellow square. That's our patch. That's going to be UV mapped. The 3D Coat does all this for us, and it's baking all the texture inside of this particular square. It may take a moment or two for it to go through the entire baking process. Alright, so here in Photoshop we can open our individual files. So there's our color, our normal, and this is our displacement. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back to 3D Coat. I'm going to go back to the splash screen and we're going to test this out. Paint UV Mapped Mesh. I'll just choose a cube. We'll go with 4K. Hit OK. So now that we have this cube, I could go ahead and apply this, but I'm going to tweak it just a bit in the tweak room. So I'll go to the Select Transform tool and let's select the object, scale. All right. And it'll come out of orthographic view as well. I think that'll be fine. So I'll select another tool, click on the Paint tab for the Paint workspace. And I'm going to hit my wireframe hotkey. I do want to see the displacement, so in 3D Coat you can go to the View menu and choose Show Displaced Mesh. So as we apply our textures with the displacement map applied, or the bump information, it's going to actually displace it in the viewport for us. Okay, and I can also adjust the sub-patching. So I'm going to crank that up quite a bit. And basically what this does is 3D Coat uses another version of this model. I see the wireframe, but 3D Coat is going to use the sub-patched version to drive the displacement. Alright, so let's create a new smart material from our maps. So I'll just click this color. Okay, now our depth texture. In this case, I want to choose the EXR. And then the roughness. I'll name this layer Base. I'm going to give this a name. Brick Test 02. Hit OK. I'm going to add another layer. This would be just a normal map. And the only thing I'm going to add is just that normal map. The normal map will give it all the small details, the very, very fine surface level details. So I'm going to reduce metalness to 0. Go ahead and hit save. Alright, so I'll zoom out just a bit. So I can see this created a nice seamless tile texture. So I'm going to increase the depth value. Okay, I'll go ahead and fill this. So there are a couple different ways that we could do it. We could use the Fill Bucket tool, or we could right click and choose Fill Whole Layer. I'll choose this Fill Bucket tool. Just click the object. Okay, and that seemed to work out pretty well. And one little trick you can try here is to take some of the similar areas like these two, and I can go to this magnification reduction brush, and I'm going to reduce the depth here just by brushing. And so that's going to help break up the similarity that we have here between these two shapes. So yeah, you can just continue augmenting your textures by baking occlusion, okay, so that's a quick look at working with tile textures inside of 3D Coat. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.